Hi, everyone. I'm Reagan Rothe, the creator of Black Rose Writing. Super excited to do another session of BRW Live. It's been quite a while. We've got just a long list of wonderful questions, and I'm going to do my best to get to as many as I can. And I only have two announcements to make. Both of them are pretty big deals. And once we get through those two announcements, we're going to jump right into the questions. If any other questions pop up, or uh, anything I didn't cover, feel free to put a question in the live chat. Hello, everyone that's already posting on the live chat. Let's go right to. So the first thing I wanted to just quickly address is the state of Black Rose Writing. We're all ecstatic on the staff and ready to keep on rolling in 2021, especially based on so far January, and we've still got a few days left. January is our biggest royalty month in our history for Lightning Source and Kindle Direct Publishing. So both platforms are at their peak, the most royalties that Black Rose has produced, and so that means obviously we're selling some books, and so that's a really cool thing. And the other very exciting news is that we will be adding a new staff member on February 8th, full time. Will be my lovely and beautiful wife, Minna. Minna Rothe will be taking over as the advertising and marketing executive and working directly with me. We'll be working a lot together on being able to do more paid ads, ebook promotions, creatives, and be able to get a little bit more campaigns running and better optimized. And just time wise, it's going to be a really great thing. As uh, as I I mean, she's basically going to really bring a lot of energy and motivation, and I know how hard and passionate Minna works, and I think she'll start to really become one of our authors' favorite people on the staff. So just to reiterate, I want to make sure if anyone wants to drop in the chat, that everyone can hear me clearly. The video feed is good. If anyone wants to confirm that, that would be great. But otherwise, we'll get to the questions. And there's no particular order. I've got no. Um, they haven't been vetted. I mean, we're going to go straight in and see what we can do. So the first question is from Lori Condone, the author of Everything's a Big Deal Until It's Not. And Lori wants to know about recommendations on doing BookBub ads. So yeah, quick question. From my end, I feel like I'm a self-proclaimed Amazon marketing ad expert. I feel very confident with Facebook ads, and while we have a few successful running BookBub ads, it's something we are still mastering and still getting better at it. We've tried a lot of different tactics, and the one we're working on now, the strategies we're using now seem to be um, the most effective so far. And so my recommendation on the BookBub ads is yes, they're always really good to run and test, and and spend a few dollars and see what we can do. Moving down the list, no relation that I know of is TJ uh, Condone, and TJ is the upcoming author of Some Assembly Required. TJ's got some great questions. Number one is cover reveals. He said they're always exciting for authors, but do readers care? I think yes. I think, and it depends on whether you have a few friends and family that you kind of associate with on social media, or if you actually have readers. So if you're an author that that you've sold a lot of copies of multiple books, and maybe you're on your fourth or fifth novel, and you've got people that are excited about that novel already and anxious for it to come out, then yeah, I think a cover reveal is really neat. It could be something where you can participate and maybe have multiple covers that like have two fake ones and one real one, and have people guess which one's the real cover. I mean, there's a lot of different tactics. You can have fun with it. You can do giveaways, um, things along those lines to make it more appealing to readers. Next question. They're talking about book awards. There's a lot of book awards out there. What is my thought process on what makes a good book award? So my process is, if you're from a book award standpoint, unless it's a major award that is kind of recognized by an everyday person that's not necessarily an author and might be just a mild lazy reader, not even a consistent reader, then something, if they're a sci-fi fan, maybe the Hugo Award or Nebula. Just obviously big fan, maybe Pulitzer Prize, things like that. Those I can think of people would recognize. But in terms of like a minor award, like Benjamin Franklin Awards, Eric Hoffer, Next Gen, anything like that, any minor award, I kind of lump them all in the same thing. And you've got to look at it two ways. If you win awards, it's great. It's great for kind of just great for motivation. It's neat to place those seals on the cover. Neat to use it in metadata. But when it comes to actually conversions and selling a book, I'm not sold that book awards, at least by themselves, a book award, I don't think it helps that much. And I'm going to say that because most readers they don't know what a literary titan, they don't know what a next generation indie book award is. They don't care. If you have 480 ratings on Amazon with a 4.8 review, and lots of reviews that fit right into what they love to read, that's what they care about. The awards, they don't care you've got them on your page. Now, that's not saying they aren't beneficial. And that's not saying when you put them all in with editorial reviews, and awards and all of those, they can really make a nice product page, and I think help your overall validity and professionalism in the industry, and can help conversions that way. But at the end of the day, it's going to be book covers going to draw the reader to click. Your pitch pitch and title may have some factor there. Once a reader clicks on your book, goes to your book, it's all about your synopsis. It's all about your ratings and reviews. They've got to get hooked right there, and that's it. They're not going to read it and be like, the synopsis doesn't sound great. The reviews aren't that great, but hey, it won this award, so I'm going to buy it. I don't think that ever happens. Next question talks about my children's book. TJ wants to know about the creative process and did I work parallel with the illustrator. We've got a lot of children's authors. TJ, feel free to reach out to other children's authors as well in the Black Rose Facebook group. But from my end, I did work directly with the illustrator. Drew Rose did my last children's book, and I worked with him, and we had a real good experience. And so I think it's just connecting with the right illustrator to put what you envision, in color and on a page. Next question, and TJ's got great questions. What advice can you give an author considering penning a second book? Stick with what works or change it up? So my advice, and this is advice I didn't follow myself, wish I would have, but my advice is that if you write a psychological thriller and it is a good psychological thriller, like you're getting good feedback and stuff, then you should write another book that's going to be similarly targeted to that same readership. And I think this should happen 3 or 4 times before an author decides to I'm going to write, I've got this really cool, romance, workplace romance that I'm going to write. And then it's like, I did the workplace romance. I want to write a little bit of a cozy mystery. And it's like, oh, I did that. I'm going to take my, you know, writing skills and I'm going to try this, hardcore fantasy now. And so your readers are everywhere, and you're going to have a few people that may be just a fan of you, but in most cases, I mean, you're not going to get any read through. In most cases, you're going to lose. Readers are going to be like, I don't like that book. And an example is even with my favorite readers. So I think I've read probably 80 to 90% of Stephen King books, but I haven't read a few of them, and those would be, his ones that are nonfiction or non-horror. I haven't really read all of those, and or that just kind of more towards maybe suspense and stuff. Mostly because you're built into you read a reader for a reason, and you love the book because of the genre, and so switching up on a an early fan of yours might not be the best plan. I think you should do 3 or 4, and then you can start to dabble in writing different genres. I'm going to take one question from the live chat. Ted Myers, the author of Fluffy's Revolution, uh, wants to is asking about Amazon getting more difficult with regard to posting reviews. Many people, that have received books can't get their reviews published on Amazon. Any advice? So the Amazon's kind of got a pro and con going right now. They switched it up where readers can now, like if you read on your Kindle, you can now leave a rating without writing a review. So that's advantageous to authors because you can still get ratings and people don't have to really take the time to do an in-depth review. So you can get more ratings quicker. So that's kind of a good thing. But on the review end, it can be tricky. I know a lot of authors mention that they have readers that can't get their reviews posted, or that Amazon's not accepting them, and it's unfortunate. But the reason it happens is very understanding. It's kind of it's basically some people manipulate the system and don't follow rules, and so Amazon now has to crack down on everyone. That's the only resolution. So whenever there were companies that were doing promotions and they were manipulating the reviews and the pages read and things like that. So that's when Amazon went in and they made it, where people have to be Amazon shoppers, and there's certain requirements. I think it's you have to spend an X amount. I don't know the number now, might be $100, but you have to spend at least $100 on Amazon before you could ever post a review on there. So there's things like that they put in. It's good for the validity of authors, but obviously it does make it difficult sometimes. Next question is still from TJ. We've got reader interest and behavior changed since the pandemic. Are there topics of particular interest? Things like that. I haven't noticed anything that I would feel is really noteworthy from Black Rose Writing from our stance. We've increased our marketing, we've increased our sales during the pandemic. So those obviously correlate. So it's hard for us to say the pandemic has caused people to read a lot more. I personally feel like during the main, I guess the most severe parts of the pandemic, when people were trying to be very strict, I think those that were financially stable did read more, and then probably those that were a little bit more in a hardship due to the pandemic and not being able to work, things like that, they were probably less willing to just spend 99 cents on an ebook or spend on a book. So you probably have a little bit of a balance between those. We don't have a lot of pandemic theme titles. We have a couple that kind of fit along those lines, and we've seen a few more keyword probably clicks that we might not have gotten where it's pandemic related. Last question from TJ. What is your go-to snack? So it depends on the day. If I'm doing my healthy eating, which is usually weekdays, and doing some clean living, I usually would go with I really vary. I don't really have a go-to because I really mix it up. That's how I think you stay from getting burned out, on a lifestyle change. You gotta keep it fresh. But a protein bar, uh, jerky is an excellent protein snack, low calorie. And then a lot of times I really like, if you haven't had Fairlife brand chocolate milk. Fairlife it will change your healthy chocolate milk life. It's as healthy as it gets for a chocolate milk, and it's the best tasting. Uh, that is, not loaded with sugar chocolate milk. So I recommend Fairlife. If it's an unhealthy go-to snack, that one's easy. It's ice cream. I could eat ice cream every day. Uh, so live chat questions. I got a disconnect. I should be back now. Uh, on my headset volume. All right. When will the next cooperative marketing catalog? So our catalog that we work with our authors, and we send that periodically. If you email me at any time, I can send you the updated one. But typically we'll probably send that out within the next quarter. Next question. Is an Amazon review better than asking to review on Barnes and Noble? I think yes. I think getting someone to review on both is always the best route. But um, getting someone to post on Amazon, leaving you a review for your Kindle and paperback product page is going to be the biggest, sales wise. That's where the bulk of the sales are going to come from. Uh, what advice on Goodreads? Charles Damokos, the author of Walking with the Dead. I have a lot of folks who have read my book in the queue, or have read about my book in the queue, but how do I get them to actually read it? So Goodreads is tricky because you usually don't have contact to reach out to each member easily. So the best way, when they're shelved or marked to read, you just got to hope they come back and read it. You might start doing a Goodreads blog, something along those lines, and see if you can start gaining some followers. That way, you're gonna be able to keep reaching those people every time you post something, weekly or monthly, something new. That would be a recommendation. All right, we're moving on, and I'm not gonna give any names, but the next question is for our publishing operations executive, Justin Weeks. And the question is Justin Weeks single? And the answer is yes. Justin Weeks is single. He is a bachelor. And so, yeah, welcome to pursue that on your own. Next question. We've got Muriel Pritchett, one of our James Zimmerman didn't ask that question. Um, Muriel Pritchett's got a good list of questions. She is our author of Making Lemonade and a lot of other titles, and her books are especially great for women and older women's fiction. Muriel wants to know. She's always curious about which genres sell the best for Black Rose writing, and then she gives a list of them. Ours are pretty similar to what you would expect, in the publishing industry. Mystery, thriller, literary, romance, um, fantasy, sci-fi. Those are kind of the big ones. Young adult, horror, historical, true crime. Those are going to be, those are kind of down a tier. And then you have obviously your niche genres. But again, it really depends on the quality of the product and the obviously marketing and everything that goes into it. Because when you write in a niche genre, you do have the advantage of, your competition is going to be a little less than if you write, if you're writing a psychological thriller. To crack into that top 100, it's going to be a lot harder than to crack into, say, death and loss, or grieving, or elderly care fiction, or something that's very specific. Those can help you get a little more, sell a little more steady and be a little more in the top rankings on Amazon. Muriel is also asking about genres that Black Rose Writing's not interested in. We typically, poetry's at the top of that list. We're not interested in poetry. If you write poetry, that's great. I've written poetry. It's not, nobody wants to read poetry. Um, so yeah, not poetry. And then there's a few others. Um, we don't publish a lot of science books. There's a lot of nonfiction that we kind of steer away from. Erotica, we don't publish erotica as the main genre. Now, if you've got a really well written thriller that maybe is a little bit steamy, or a fantasy, then yeah, those we'll consider usually. But yeah, that covers the genres. Next question for our design lead, Dave King. Does Dave do all the covers himself, or does he have help? Dave has help. Dave does majority of the covers. Dave kind of sets the stage, sets the tone for most of the covers, but he does have some good freelance help in there, to keep him inspired and things like that. So yeah, Dave's most likely your cover's going to at least have Dave is going to give a little input. He's going to have, at least something to do with it. Next question. Let's see if we've got any more. This is one I liked. Does Black Rose Writing sell more digital books than printed books? So it's a good question. So when the digital book era started, we were part of that. We were a company that had only print books, and then we started doing ebooks, and we were open for open whenever that started, and so that was really neat. And there was a little bit of a panic, as it's kind of like when anything really new enters a marketplace, and the ebooks, they skyrocketed and the print sales went down because it was 100% to zero. So obviously there you got a big sway there. And we thought there was a small time where I thought we were going to be a digital publisher pretty soon. Like it just kind of maybe we're going to be only an ebook publisher, because the ebook kind of just kept going, and it was getting more of like a 70-30. And then all of a sudden it started coming back. And when I say, for ebook and print, I would say it's 50-50. And I'm going to say that based on what I would say near full count or full price sales. So if the book is priced near full price, maybe $3.99 to $7 on the ebook, 13 to 20 on the paperback, whatever, they're very close to being even. Now, obviously, we do a lot of ebook promotions, and so at discounted prices and 99-cent ebooks, those are going to jump a little higher and make that number a little more ebook favored. But it's a really happy medium now. So ebook and paperback right there together. And I see Mary Ellen Bramwell brought up my next point. She's asking about the audiobook sell. Audiobooks did the same thing. They came in, they made a big climb, they pushed the others down. Then they found their place in the marketplace and said, "Hey, everybody, we're here to stay, and we can all be friends." And ebooks, print, audio, they're all friends now. And it's great because they all provide readers with options however you like to take in your material. You can listen to it, you can read it on your phone, or you can smell a new paperback and hear the crispness of it as you open the spine and crack that spine. They're all great formats. Let me get one more from Muriel, and I'll jump back into the live chat. Muriel wants to know about the process of getting a book made into audiobook. to an Audible book. And so what we do is we have our freelance narrators that work directly with Black Rose, um, and they're typically doing audiobooks and narrating. So if they're not available, we can pitch specific titles because we know what their interests are and what they're good at. But if they're not available, or we don't have a window there, then we'll pitch your audiobook to one of our partners. Our main partner is Beacon Audiobooks, and typically Beacon's going to review it. Most cases, once we pitch one and we give it kind of a, like, this book needs to be made in the audio format, then most times it gets picked up and narrated. It takes time sometimes because you have to find the narrator. We don't get to choose our narrator in most cases. There's a little hit or miss. We've had a majority of them done really, really well. A few of them that could have been better, but it goes down to is it better to have an okay audiobook or have no audiobook? And from a business standpoint, I think it's better to have the audiobook. I mean, if your book takes off in print or ebook, and there's an opportunity to redo the audiobook, then that's always an option. All right, I'm going to get back to, let me see here, questions on the live chat. Bruce Logan is our author of Finding Lion, Leon. I said that wrong probably. And asked, I may have missed this, but is Black Rose Writing planning to resurrect its participation in regional book fairs? A good question. Around the country. Yes, I never thought I'd be so excited to do a book festival, and have to smile at all of these people and pitch them our authored books and be rejected so many times. But I'm very excited to do that again. I'm dead serious when I say that. Uh, Obviously, we're still kind of pushing through hopefully getting closer to maybe an end in sight, pandemic wise. Less risk, then yes, we'll be very excited to do some book festivals and get to meet more of our authors in person and sign some books. Uh, Next question: besides being a baseball fan, did you ever play baseball in school? I did. I played high school baseball. I ended up playing golf in college. I had a chance to play baseball. I chose golf, but I've played in a lot of men's baseball leagues as I've gotten older. One of those bats behind me is my grandfather, Leslie Tex Alds, who played with the Red Sox in 1947. And the other bat is my brother's, Ryan, who played 8 years of Double-A baseball with Alexandria and Shreveport. And then my father, Walt Rothe, played baseball at the University of Texas and was Southwest Conference Baseball Player of the Year in the 70s, and was drafted by the Montreal Expos, and had some serious knee issues that cut his career short. But yeah, so baseball rich family. Good question there. Henry Hack, next question. What is the best social media platform to sell books? That's an easy one. It's Facebook. Unless you are, unless there's more of maybe an angle towards it. So if Kristen A. Sherry writes business books, and she does a really great job on LinkedIn. But maybe, LinkedIn, I'm sure you can find a way to it, but maybe, hard sci-fi wouldn't work as well on LinkedIn. But Facebook is hands down the easiest, or the best. I would say maybe Instagram, and Twitter. Twitter is fun to kind of just keep engaged and to do stuff, but in terms of just conversion and actually getting people to pay attention, not so much, because I think it's just everything happens so fast. People miss, so many of your posts, and it's hard to follow everything, that someone posts. Another good question from Bruce: how many multi-book authors do you have in your stable? Bruce, that would be really great to have that number. I don't have the number, but my guess is going to be, I'm going to say 50 to 100. And we have 450 authors under contract, so it might be higher than that. But I'm going to say 50 to 100 would be my guess. And our goal is to continue to have those authors. And this is the stat I just looked up, but for 2021, for this year's full calendar, which we're just a handful of slots away from filling December of 2021. It is almost exactly 50-50 on new authors versus veteran Black Rose writing authors, and that was the goal. One of my goals. So half of all of our, we're going to release approximately 208 titles this year. Could be a little bit more. But out of that 208, over 100 of those titles is going to be from an author that is already published with Black Rose Writing, and hopefully has a following. And we've already sold some books, and plan on selling more books. David Bullock, author of Christian fantasy, YA Christian fantasy. David Bullock's question is, can you say a little about how to best use Kindle Unlimited? Kindle Unlimited is one of our favorite, ways to make money and to generate new reviews, ratings, readers. We able to really use our subscriber list to take advantage of Kindle Unlimited as well. So if someone subscribes to the Black Rose Writing subscriber list called the Rose Vine, and you fill out your preferences, there's a question on there that says Kindle Unlimited reader. Like, are you a Kindle Unlimited member? If that person answers yes, then they get an automated email within a few days that have our top 10 Kindle Unlimited books that have been, in terms of pages read, for the last 30 days or last 60 days. And so that's an automated email. So that's really cool, and they can check those out. It's a subscription, so obviously they can go in, and if they read them, then we get bonus royalties through pages read on KU. Another thing that's really cool about Kindle Unlimited, or something that you have to, as an author, be aware of, if you're a Kindle Unlimited author, it's kind of like Netflix, and it's similar because it's a subscription base. So anytime someone's doing a subscription base, you feel like that product is free. I mean, you don't think about it as, oh, I paid $9.99 this month, or $14 or whatever. On Netflix, you're not thinking about like, oh, this movie I'm going to watch tonight costs me money. It obviously costs you a subscription, but you'll try it, or a show. You'll watch episode 1, and if episode 1 is no good, there's no incentive for you to keep going and like, well, I'm going to grind a little more. It's sorry, I'm on to the next. I got something better to watch. And that's the same thing that we're finding with Kindle Unlimited. You can't write a book that has 4 chapters of really slow, like, wait till you get to chapter 5, it gets really good, because by that time, if it's a Kindle Unlimited reader, they're done. Your book's done. They've read 20 pages, they've read 8 pages, and they're moving on to the next, man. I mean, because they're a subscription. And so, if they bought your book for an ebook for $4.99 and they've invested $5, yeah, they're probably going to power through and see if they can make it to the finish line, because they've invested that money. But when you're subscription based, it's really important that you hook readers as quickly as possible. Next, Dick Brown, we talked about, his question was on making the audiobook. We've talked about that. We pitch them. Basically, it comes down to a roll of dice. If a narrator picks it up, and the sooner the better. If they do it in a week, obviously your audiobook's done in a week and it's pending ACX review, and hopefully we can get it up as close as possible to the release date. Off the literary topic, James Zimmerman, who is the official meathead of the Black Rose Writing authors, and that is not a derogatory term, wants to know about our farm ranch. Yeah, it's a little bit of both. It's not really big enough to be anything substantial, but we have we have 7 cows, I think, right now. My daughter Lena would be able to tell you better. 7 cows. We have 1 horse. We had 3. We're down to 1. Tragic old age death. So not necessarily tragic, but death took 1, and the other one was a dumbass. There's no better term to give it. And so she's moved on to someone else. And then we have 3 dogs. We have 1 cat who I stay clear of. If you're familiar with my recent having open heart surgery um, because of Bartonella, which is cat scratch fever, I had an infection on my prosthetic valve. Then you'll know that my cat is phenomenal. I never thought I could like a cat, but we just do our own thing. We pass each other and we say hi. Um, we have 6 chickens, and we have a few goldfish in some of our troughs, and we have, I don't know what else. I think that's it. That covers all of it. And several acres for them to graze and stuff. And then we do have a garden. So the farm aspect is there's no big planting, but we do have a garden, and my wife does real well with the garden, and the kids and I help when we can. Let's see what we've got next question wise. Linda Benjamin, the author of Girl's Guide to Aging with Grit and Gusto. Her question is contacting Dave King about covers. You don't have to contact anybody, Linda. You just fill out your questionnaire, get prepared, and once we get in the production queue and get you moving post editing stage and into those channels, then Dave King will reach out, our design lead, and our design team will take over from there, and they'll talk to you about the cover and get you to paint that picture or whatever inspirations you've come up with, and go from there. Brian Fitzpatrick, the author of the Metcraft series. Question: does Black Rose Writing connect with Barnes and Noble and get their authors into the stores? We have and we do. Obviously, right now isn't the most. 2020 wasn't the most optimal time, but that's something we can always help with. You do have to be wary of book returns and then damaging your royalty profits. They can be very damaging, and so most of our authors that do a lot of Barnes and Noble events and do a lot of those events where Barnes and Noble are going to order at high discount and have returnable copies, they end up not making a lot of profit. You're getting some PR out of it, but you just kind of got to be smart with it. Lisa Peebles, how are true crime books doing? So far doing great. And our true crime aficionado is Kimberly Tilley. If you're a true crime fan, you got to check out her books. We have 2 great ones. The Poison Glass is her first one, and then her new release, Cold Heart, was selected for BookBub True Crime, and we sold 1,000 ebooks of that one this month with the BookBub deal, and it's been ranked. It's been holding at #1 for turn of the century, I think, or 19th century true crime. But she does. She writes really well. She could be a novel writer, but she turns that into true crime, and it helps really make the story not just data, but it helps you really enjoy the story and build the suspense. And she does her research, and they're early 1900 true crime, and check her out. But yeah, the true crime is doing well. We are really trying to get more really good true crime books. That's one of my favorite genres. More to watch than read probably these days, but definitely something our staff really enjoys. Lisa Nix says she just did a podcast with 60,000 listeners. That would be great if our podcast had 60,000 listeners. We're working on it. And she did a reading. Do you think it helps sales? It depends on the audience. And I'm going to say that, meaning if you're doing a podcast about here's an example. I mean, Battle Hymn is a political conspiracy. It's still important to this day, and it was written over 8 years ago by John Skur and Dane Phillips. They went on Coast to Coast AM and talked about it, and those listeners bought just a massive amount of copies that night and that week. So I think if it's a nonfiction and you're talking about something, maybe you're on a show talking about how to deal with grief, and it's a show that's what the whole premise of a podcast is, then I think it would really help. If you're just on a radio show that listens to alternative music and they've got you on there just to fill a segment and you're talking about your fantasy book, yeah, maybe you don't really get any sales out of that. So I think it's just going to depend on the show and the tips, and if your book kind of fits what the listeners are used to and the reason why they listen to that show, then I think there's a chance it could convert in some sales. Um, let's see. Eva Silverfine, one of our new authors, coming up. Question is, would you speak to the value of professional reviews such as Kirkus? We kind of touched on this a little bit already with awards, but um, I'm leaning more towards. So when we do marketing, we're doing less and less paid reviews, and I'm steering authors and trying to guide authors that they're good, and it depends on your budget. It's neat to have. It can be beneficial for certain targets like librarians maybe, but an everyday reader. So just put yourself in a reader's shoes sometimes. Say you're not an author. You don't care anything about being an author, but you're a reader and you read avidly. When you go on Amazon Kindle, if a book has 0 ratings, but it has the greatest Kirkus review ever given, do you care? Or if you go on Amazon, it has no Kirkus review. Do you even know who Kirkus is? Do you care? And it has no Kirkus review, and it has 500 ratings and all this feedback from readers just like you. Which one is more likely to going to help you convert to a sale? And it's the second one. Most readers, unless you're in the literary industry, you don't know what a Kirkus review is. You don't know what I mean. So you could just make up a review company. You could have reviews from 10 made up review companies, and they're probably going to be just as significant as Kirkus. Now, in the literary industry, it's going to mean a little more. If you're talking to a librarian, of course, it's going to help. They take those, library, school journal, Kirkus. Those are going to have a little more impact. But for a regular reader, I think we're going to keep switching gears in 2021 and worry more about the paid ads is kind of is the bread and butter moving forward. The next question is not one I expected to get tonight. Lee Musgrave wants to know if I'm related to Noah Berry Jr., and I have never heard of Noah Berry Jr., so I think the answer is no. Thank you. Linda said that her character in Disharmony of Silence is named Lena, and that is my daughter's name. And so we've got Brian Fitzpatrick again talking about he's got 7 chickens and love the eggs. We also love the eggs. I cook usually eggs for breakfast for my wife and kids 1 to 2 times a week. So that's great. Let's see. Charles Isaac. Oh, can I get to his questions today? Charles, I'm working on the emails. I'm going to switch back over there right now. One more question from the chat, and then I will switch back. For new writers who submit those manuscripts that are not accepted, are there some challenges you see? Are there some challenges you see more than others? Common book problems. So the not accepted manuscripts. So we go through a process now. We get enough queries that we can't review them all, and I feel very confident that when I reject a query, that there's a really good indication that one, the manuscript isn't going to be good either because the query probably wasn't great. It wasn't impressive, or the author just was lazy and didn't fill everything out, didn't care to. And to me, that's a sign that is this author really going to be motivated to write the best book, to edit the best book, to market the best, or not? And so, you really the query is the first impression. It's like your book cover. It's like when you go to a job interview. You've got to have a query that stands out, and you need to fill out all the information because you never know what's going to stand out the most, and what might catch a publisher's attention. But right now, a lot of times, sometimes it's just timing because we're looking for more queries from authors that have a little bit of a track record and not so much new authors. So it's a little harder if you're a new author to get past that stage. I'm going to move back to emailed questions. See if I can find any more email. Okay, see if I can find any more email questions that we've got. I've talked about that one. Let's see, talked about that one. We've already covered all of these. Here's a question from JP Hostetler. Which part of the publishing process most excites you, from receiving that first query from an author to the cover design and reveal, book printing? This is an easy one. The part of the process that excites me the most is when books sell. When your book starts to sell, and we sell copies of your book, yay! That's the most exciting part of the process. I love seeing the covers. We've started implementing a new process where we have a staff evaluation of all your book covers. This is something that's very new. And basically what we're trying to do, because we have a lot of marketing ads and paid ads, and a lot of times it's going to be title and cover, is we're trying to make sure your cover, not just good and appealing, but is it appealing to the right reader? And so staff wise, we do a little fun thing where when Dave King has a cover that's nearing approval or in the first stages, we just, whenever he gets a chance, he will pass that cover our way, and staff wise, we will look at that cover and we will say what it is. Like, I look at this cover and I see it's got some kind of paranormal element, maybe a mystery, maybe it's historical, whatever. And if we can match the genre with the cover, the real book genre, then I think we've done a great job. That speaks a lot. And that way, you're not looking at you don't want a reader to look at the cover. We just started doing that in the last maybe 30 days, and so you don't want the reader to see a book and be like, man, that looks like the most awesome sci-fi I've ever read. And they click on it and they go in and it's like a, space off a romance, with a hint of sci-fi, more romance. And the cover looks like it's hardcore battle, Galactica sci-fi. You're not going to get a sale. You're just misleading. People don't like to be tricked. They really won't convert on those. So that's kind of the coolest part of the process, I think, is selling a book and then getting to finalize the keywords and cover and do the metadata end. Let's see. Let's keep on rolling through questions here in the live chat. Pamela Taylor, can you comment on the value of awards and placement in award submissions? I covered this in the very beginning a little bit, and I feel awards and reviews are kind of have the same weight from our data, and that having those they're okay. And when you put them all together, if you have a book that's really well written and it has ratings and reviews and it's got paid ads, it's got editorial reviews, it's got awards, you put them all together, it creates this wonderful package that can sell. And Joe Seipel with the Five Wishes of Mr. Murray McBride is a great example of that. If you put one without the others, just having I won a book award, I'm gonna put the award on my cover, and you don't really have the others, and maybe your book is just okay, but maybe that award liked it better than readers typically are giving feedback. I don't think it's very beneficial. So it's kind of a you want to get them all collectively, and I think that's when it's going to have the biggest impact. Lee Musgrave question: how do you feel about an author being active with the Mystery Readers or Writers Online Association? Um, I think it's great. Any book clubs, any associations, anything like that, where you're in a participating with fellow authors and you're giving and not taking, is going to always come back beneficial to you. Um, give, and not just free books. Give your time. Read another author's book, post a review, share other authors' posts, comment on their posts. You know, give great feedback. When you give, people will give back. But if you're trying to take if everything you do is revolved around buy my book. Hey, I know I haven't ever had a personal conversation with you ever, and there's no trust in our relationship, but you should go buy my book. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Lisa Nix question is, she's getting feature article on her memoir in local paper. Should I put anything on that through Black Rose to help sell books? You should just say your book is available at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Black Rose Writing. And you can mention that Black Rose Writing is the greatest publisher of all time, and Reagan Rothe is a genius. Those would all be beneficial. Yes. Getting to other questions. I'm gonna get to Charles Isaacs. Charles Isaacs got a question we can touch on here. It's a good one. He says he's got 4 and 5 star reviews right now on Amazon, except for one. He's got a 1-star review, and it's not just the fact that it's a 1-star, but it appears that it's got a slant to it. And Amazon, keeps showing it as a top critical review. Can anything be done about this? You can report abuse, and you can also email Amazon, KDP support. Those would be your best 2 options, and just leave a message saying, "Hey, I don't feel like this is a good editorial review. I think the reader is, I think the reader either didn't read it, or they're biased, or they have an agenda," and be professional about it. It's Amazon's decision whether they remove it or not. So that would be my advice. I know some authors aren't as thick-skinned as others, but I do know also there are times when some reviews do have an unfortunate slant, where maybe someone, didn't even care to read the product. It's kind of like when you buy a brand new vacuum cleaner and you go, uh, someone, you see a review on there that says a 1-star, and I couldn't get it out of the box. And it's like, I don't think that's going to affect me buying the product. I'm kind of, I don't really care if you could get out of the box or not. I want to know if the vacuum works. Next question is talking about free Kindle promotions, the result, the amount of giveaways. And he said he's not seeing as many reviews or actual sales because of that ebook promotion we ran. Is there a way to not lose money on these projects? Marketing and not losing money don't really, they kind of go hand in hand. It's a long-term investment. An author is like investing in real estate. That's the best example I can give you. When we do an ebook giveaway and promotions, you are building a fan base. You are setting the platform. And when you write Mark Hewitt, for example, Duncan Hunter thrillers, we did a lot of investing and we did a lot of marketing. And now we've got number 6 on the way. And when you put all those together, the marketing works. We've got a fan base to read through. They're reading books 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's no ads for those books. There's ads for book 1, and there's ads that have been run before. And so we've invested that, and now we're starting to hopefully see the positive. I mean, see the profits. From an author standpoint and a publisher. And same with real estate. You don't buy a new property or a rental house and expect to make money that month. If you make money in 5 to 7 years, that's usually a good investment. And so the same with your book. When you go look at a bestseller list, or if you tell me your favorite authors, how many of your favorite authors have written 1, 2, 3 books? How many? And it's probably, the answer's probably zero. Your favorite author, I mean, maybe not always, but a lot of times your favorite author has written 10 to 30 books. And that's just, and that's why they're a best-selling author. You got to be good. You got to have a good product. And then um, you've got to have more so readers can continue to engage. And that makes your marketing. An example is, if it costs me $2 to sell a 99-cent book, if that author has one book, I'm not making money. But if it costs me $3 to sell a 99-cent book and that author has 8 books, and all the other ones are priced, maybe $2.99 to $6.99 ebook, and that book has great read through, and people that read book one can't stop reading it, then that $3 is going to make me money, because they're going to buy the other books, and they're going to buy the other books, and the author and I, we're going to make some royalties. Michael Hopkins, what is the best way to coordinate my marketing efforts with Black Rose Writing? Yeah. Paid ads, cooperative marketing with us, or just let us know what we're doing. Christopher Miller, PR at blackrosewriting.com. Reach out. There's a lot of things. If you have a, Facebook, if you're trying to run your own Facebook efforts, if you have a creative you want us to review, if you have, the text you want us to review, anything you want to bounce off, we can definitely assist with that. Adam James Jones, what's the strategy for getting a #1 Amazon bestseller, even for a week or even for an obscure category? The #1 strategy is get a BookBub feature deal, and that's up to our team. Our team works very diligently on those. I landed one for Kara Achterberg and the novel Blind Turn. Just landed that one, I think this morning, maybe yesterday. But we submit all of your titles. We do it on a monthly basis. We do it as often as we can. With my wife Minna coming on board, we pay bonuses to our staff for landing BookBub deals. There's incentive. They're fun. They're about as positive ROI as anything you can do, and they're a game changer for a lot of authors when you land the big one. So that's one. Ebook promotions just through Black Rose, coordinating with us. That's another way to get a #1 bestseller. And then paid ads, obviously. Amazon's the biggest, and then Facebook, BookBub, paid ads. Those are all ways to get #1 bestsellers. You just got to be the top selling book for that day. You got to sell the most. And so some categories, if you're in historical romance, you're going to have to sell a bunch. If you're in mystery suspense, you're going to have to sell a bunch. But if you're in a niche category, then there's a chance you can sell a few. Maybe, if you're #1 bestseller in Australia, sometimes you can sell like 7 books and you're #1 and you got an orange banner on Amazon. Let's see. Got a few more email questions trying to get through. See if we've got some. Here's the question I wanted to get to from author AJ McCarthy. She is one of our great Canadian mystery authors. And it is, do you have analytics for the Daily Deals newsletter? So our Daily Deals newsletter, on a small scale, has been doing some good work. So, and we're getting better. We're growing our subscriber list. We're getting subscribers that actually are engaging and they open our daily freebies and stuff like that, and they actually buy. Every day we send out a newsletter, we sell books and we get ebook downloads every day. So that's a good thing. We want to keep growing that number, but I mean that's huge because we're not paying anyone to run a promo for us. That's our subscribers that follow Black Rose Writing. But on the daily freebies, that this is something we've been doing since January 1st, and we're offering a daily freebie every day, and it rotates through all of our 15 genres. So there's a 15 genre rotation, and Christopher Miller and myself pick your titles, and we send those to our subscribers. And so far, we've been averaging. We had Rotten Bananas, Muriel Pritchett, Rotten Bananas and Emerald Dream had 754 downloads, giveaways. That's a really good number. We've had a few 400s and some 300s, and then all the way down to like 105 for like middle grade. Those are going to be a little less, have a little less interest and not as many downloads. But it looks like we're averaging probably about 300 to 350 downloads on the daily freebie, and so those are just targeted genre specific, so they might not even be going out to that many people depending on the genre. So that's really good because we've seen some book sales generate off of those and pages read, and that's just our daily freebies that we market for authors. And then sales wise, we've seen a lot of 99-cent, $1.99. We've seen days where we get a small sales boost for our authors, so that's really cool. And then she has the same question on the analytics for Amazon ads. We have those. You just, if you have an Amazon ad running, and I would let you know we launched one, or you would have signed up for one. But we'd let you know, and basically, you can email anytime to kind of go over those numbers. All right, we're cutting in on the hour mark. So we're gonna wrap up here as soon as possible. If there's any more questions, please feel free to post them in the live chat. If I haven't answered your question from the live chat, if I missed it somewhere in the scrolling, please repost it. And I've got a few more emails. I'm going to try to see if there's anything that I need to get to. If I don't get to your questions, then we will do our best to cover them in another live session that's coming up. We've kind of talked on industry changes with the pandemic. I feel like there's not too many that have affected us. We had our best year, and we've continued to grow financially every year. So 2020 wasn't, nothing damaging in terms of pandemic. We did have quite a smaller amount of what we call publisher direct, and that's where authors buy copies. That was way down, and that's expected, obviously, because of the effects of COVID and not being able to do personal book events. So we expect that number to pick back up. There's no reason for concern. I know authors are chomping at the bit to be able to sign copies of their book and meet fans and sell their books in person again. And that's coming. So that'll be a really cool thing. John Vassa, author of The Last Martian Sunset's question is, what is one area of marketing you believe is crucial for all authors to focus on? I think the best area of marketing for authors is to be active and like I talked about earlier, on social media, on ads. If you've got a budget, that's great. If you can camp with that. If you don't, that's fine too. But giving free content. You don't have to give away your whole book. Giving away maybe a bonus chapter that would have been like an epilogue in your book, something like that. And reading and reviewing other people's stuff, sharing their stuff, just being active and talk about your day, be personable, talk about social media stuff that's going to interest people who follow you. And you don't have to talk about your book and say, buy my book every day. People that become a fan of yours, they'll go buy your book. You don't have to tell them to, that you can do it periodically, but yeah, just develop the trust. Bruce, yeah, the cooperative marketing, we have that catalog. You can email anytime and I'll send it to you. We'll probably send out a campaign on it. within the next quarter, just to send it out, maybe touch on anything that's new. I know we just added book funnel to it. It'd be great to get some of our authors. I'm familiar with book funnel. I haven't used it from a publisher or author standpoint, but I know it's a great way to build readers, followers, subscribers, whatever word you want to use, and to also develop like beta readers and a street team for helping you write and push your book. Um, James Zimmerman, I love that comment. Don't talk politics or religion. I agree with it, but I also disagree with the point because unfortunately, I wish somewhere along the lines our society became a place where talking about that made you choose one or the other, and you can't be friends as much if you don't like something that someone else or dislike or whatever. So we won't go there. We won't delve into that too much, but we should be able to talk politics and religion, and we should be able to disagree, and we should be able to still respect each other and not be hateful or violent. It's irrelevant. We don't have to agree with each other to be friends or colleagues or whatever, family. It doesn't, it's that simple. It really is. Let's see. I'm trying to get through any last questions here. Do you think the ROI is worth a BookBub or Amazon ad? And the answer is always worth testing. Um, Always worth it. Always worth. Always, always, always. Um, Time wise, we should be able to launch more Amazon, Facebook, BookBub ads. That's our goal when Minna comes on board. So we're super excited about that. Um, and it's always worth testing. We don't know if a BookBub ad or a Facebook ad is going to be positive, but we always need to test it if possible. Any questions I missed? Again, we will try to get to those in the next BRW live session. I'm going to bid farewell. I think this one we covered a lot of fun stuff and also a lot of informative stuff. And if there's anything you want a little more clarity on or missed, obviously shoot me an email. I hope everyone has a great rest of their evening, or if you're in a different time zone, day or night. I love all of our authors, and I'm super excited. I feel really great, healthy, and I'm excited for a phenomenal 2021. So farewell.